that the publicist was planting stories about him. He's got receipts. His lawyer was just responding publicly to what she initiated. Literally moments ago, Baldoni's attorney...
They shared those together. They concocted a complaint that they filed with the Civil Rights Division. They omitted texts that would have provided context.
The collapse happened in broad daylight, and it left the entire lifestyle empire in complete ruins. Meghan Markle reportedly lost her temper behind closed doors after her high-stakes commercial venture, Cookie Queens, suffered a catastrophic flop that shattered her entire brand strategy. Whispers from inside her camp described total meltdown mode as boxes of subpar, unsold products piled up while negative reviews flooded the internet. She thought she was untouchable, but this single retail disaster exposed a massive disconnect between royal ambition and real-world execution.
They're bored and rich. Another circumstance that made me see right through Ryan Reynolds and the kind of person that he is when, despite being friends with Joe Alwyn, who dated Taylor Swift for 5 years. She's best friends with Blake Lively.
There's just so much more to this story, and the media's already like self-flagellating. Oh, we were too mean to Blake. And now you see text messages from Blake Lively comparing herself. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
Disgruntled buyers instantly took to social media to dump on the overpriced, disappointing launch, creating a viral PR wildfire that no publicist could contain. The initial rollout was supposed to prove that she could dominate the lifestyle space just like the biggest names in Hollywood. Instead, real customers began publicly roasting the inferior quality and demanding full refunds. It was not just an ordinary business stumble. It was an embarrassing public rejection that exposed how fragile the entire curated image truly was.
Did not know both of their lawsuits had been consolidated into one legal showdown instead of these two separate lawsuits.
The kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, documents, which prove exactly what she did to take over the movie.
The desperation behind closed doors quickly turned outward, triggering an aggressive scramble to shift the blame onto everyone else. Insiders revealed that instead of taking accountability for an inferior product, she chose to push an aggressive offensive narrative to distract from the retail humiliation. This is the exact same playbook Hollywood is watching unfold across elite social circles, where powerful figures believe they can bulldoze the public and rewrite reality through sheer force of will.
With the New York Times, where publicists worked directly with the New York Times. They shared illegally obtained text messages.
Well, she filed a civil rights complaint in Los Angeles, and then within 24 hours, the New York Times had the scoop. They published the complaint in its entirety, and it looked suspicious.
When your core enterprise starts bleeding credibility, the natural instinct for high-profile figures is to lean into manufactured drama to dominate headlines. We saw this identical pattern explode when Blake Lively attempted to seize total creative control on her latest major film set. Rather than accepting constructive criticism or artistic boundaries, high-profile stars often turn their workspaces into personal battlegrounds, creating a chaotic environment where nobody is allowed to disagree.
To this mess started.
Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence. And was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it. And to the point where this guy was in the basement at his own movie's premiere. And that what in fact happened was you guys were the ones out there generating negative press against Justin. You guys were the ones who were trying to ruin.
Expanding rapidly.
The parallels in how these power players handle failure are striking, especially when multi-million-dollar brands are on the line. On the movie set of It Ends With Us, crew members described walking on eggshells every single day because one woman demanded absolute control over every creative decision. Justin Baldoni was completely pushed out of his own director's chair, showing just what happens when a star believes their personal vision overrides every professional standard.
Times apparently reviewed 1,000 or more pages of text messages, they would have seen it. Justin never wanted to hurt her, never wanted to be negative to her. And it's all over the place.
I know for a fact that the mainstream media will lie and they will smear on behalf of their powerful friend. I believe in due process, which is why I always read the facts of the case before accepting the media.
Leaked text messages and private communications have started exposing the calculated machinery running behind the scenes. In one damning leak, an elite actress compared herself to the Mother of Dragons from Game of Thrones, boasting about unleashing her powerful allies on anyone who stood in her path. This ruthless entitlement is precisely what drives high-profile figures to completely ignore consumer backlash, while their commercial ventures crumble around them.
The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is not a good person, that she has proven herself not to be a kind person. From Armie Hammer, who got fired from Gossip Girl because he said during a dinner that she was a bitch, regarding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, when I just recognize that they are up on their high horses and that they potentially treat people very.
And Hugh Jackman.
The fallout inevitably escalates into full-blown legal warfare once the initial cover-up begins to fracture. Baldoni fired back with a staggering $400 million countersuit, laying out calculated attempts at character assassination and civil extortion. He refused to be silenced by an elite smear campaign, revealing that the behind-the-scenes manipulation went far deeper than a simple creative disagreement over a commercial project.
It's largely due to the fact that she is a modern feminist, and so she has to create struggle where there just isn't any. Okay.
Major media outlets were allegedly weaponized to drop coordinated hit pieces within 24 hours of legal complaints being filed. Leaked documents suggest publicists deliberately fed one-sided narratives to top-tier newspapers to bury professional reputations before the truth could surface. When powerful figures realize their own ventures are failing, planting stories in the press becomes the go-to weapon to distract from their own incompetence.
Baldoni's lawsuit, he accuses Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively of colluding with the New York Times. Do you guys remember what the article was actually entitled that they actually released on 12/21? We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood smear machine. Another bombshell, and this time it is pertaining to the New York Times. Amazing that you're not going to believe this, okay? It looks like Justin Baldoni may have a very strong case against the New York Times.
Even the biggest names in pop culture and music found themselves dragged into the crossfire of this expanding Hollywood hurricane. Subpoenas began looming over megastars like Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman as investigators probed just how far the behind-the-scenes influence reached. When an empire begins to collapse under the weight of its own arrogance, the blast radius spares no one in its immediate orbit.
Swift and Hugh Jackman were both reportedly considered for subpoenas because of their close ties to Blake and Ryan. And here's where things get even spicier. Taylor allegedly held influence over the film itself.
The most tone-deaf part of this entire pattern is the absolute refusal to read the room during a massive crisis. While consumers were furious over substandard products and serious domestic themes were being trivialized, these celebrities were caught shamelessly pushing alcohol lines and luxury hair care. It proved once and for all that self-absorbed elites care far more about personal promotion than honoring their audience or their commitments. The collateral damage does not stop at failed retail launches or derailed movie sets. It bleeds straight into private relationships. Explosive rumors broke out detailing how these same manipulative tactics were allegedly used to meddle in the long-standing marriage of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. When toxic ambition takes over, even Hollywood's most cherished couples get dragged into the high-stakes drama. Industry insiders claim that intense jealousy and fierce competition drove these attempts to sow discord between Krasinski and Blunt. Whispers spread that seeds of doubt were planted behind closed doors to disrupt Emily's standing among the elite. Though the couple presented a completely united front on the red carpet, the toxic fallout from these manipulative schemes left a permanent stain that PR could not wipe away. The immediate professional fallout was swift and brutal for anyone caught on the wrong side of the corporate machinery. Baldoni was instantly dropped by his talent agency without a thorough investigation, showing how fast the industry moves to protect powerful figures over everyday integrity. It was performative damage control at its absolute worst, executed solely to protect the illusion of elite perfection. Yet despite the mountain of evidence, corporate institutions and union leaders rush to frame the instigators as brave victims of circumstance. This tired tactic of crying victimhood after provoking an entire crisis is precisely what has turned public opinion completely sour. Everyday people are no longer buying the corporate spin, and the backlash across digital platforms is reaching a fever pitch. Behind studio gates, the tone is shifting from quiet tolerance to outright panic as executives realize the true cost of working with volatile personalities. Casting directors and producers are now openly discussing whether the massive liability is worth the headache. Multiple future projects are quietly scrubbing these controversial names from their shortlists to protect their bottom lines. Former crew members, personal assistants, and junior staffers are finally breaking their non-disclosure agreements to describe the real working conditions. They describe an unbearable environment driven by pure ego, where anyone who refused to fall in line was immediately purged. This hostile energy is identical to the reports leaking out from failed brand ventures where employees were blamed for terrible executive decisions. The entertainment world is now fractured into two warring factions over this toxic behavior. On one side, loyal defenders claim these women are merely being assertive in a male-dominated corporate structure. But the vast majority of industry veterans see through the excuse, noting there is a massive difference between genuine leadership and ruthlessly stepping on others to preserve your vanity. Even the most devoted corporate allies and high-profile collaborators are now quietly backing away from future contracts. High-paying endorsement deals and creative partnerships are being canceled under the polite guise of scheduling conflicts. Nobody wants to be associated with a toxic brand when the public has already turned and the lawsuits are actively exposing the truth. The crisis has now engulfed spouses who thought their squeaky clean public images would protect them from the fallout. Ryan Reynolds finds himself directly entangled in massive legal claims, alleging he helped coordinate a ruthless smear campaign against innocent colleagues. Staying quiet is no longer an option when your own multi-million-dollar film franchises are threatened by association. The cold reality of modern media is that the public will forgive an honest mistake, but they will never forgive calculated arrogance. When a lifestyle brand launches a complete failure, screaming at your staff and launching media wars will not fix the defective product. Audiences see right through the manufactured polish and the fake royal poise when the actual output is completely hollow. Hollywood loves a dramatic comeback story, but redemption requires genuine humility that these ultra-rich figures simply do not possess. The endless cycle of lawsuits, power grabs, ruined marriages, and failed commercial launches paints a devastating portrait of unchecked ego. When you refuse to the spotlight or own your blunders, the industry eventually leaves you behind in the dust. As this massive legal and commercial battle barrels toward a catastrophic public trial, the unraveling shows no signs of slowing down. The $400 million counterclaim stands as a massive monument to what happens when you push good people too far. Every new court filing strips away another layer of the carefully crafted facade, revealing the raw panic underneath. At the end of the day, no amount of royal titles, celebrity connections, or aggressive spin can rescue a brand built on pure delusion. When the products fail and the real stories leak out, the illusion of untouchable perfection vanishes overnight. The true test of influence is not how loud you can scream when things collapse, but whether your legacy can survive the truth when the curtain is finally pulled back.